AITA for barring my husband from the bedroom tonight. So here is the situation. Me, nurse, working 50 hours a week in pediatric ICU. Cry at least once a week because that shit is hard. My salary pays our bills. All of them. Husband, 25M, has a degree but isn't looking for a job. Works 2 days a week at the grocery store. Spends most of his time playing LOL. BTW. All events here are in accordance with COVID legislation. Today was supposed to be a good day. I had been begging my husband to swap his Saturday shift to literally anything else so that we could have days off together. We haven't had a weekend together since our wedding, 18 months ago. Today was supposed to be our first Saturday off together. We were going to go to an animal sanctuary. He starts the day by going to breakfast with his best mate, leaving before I even wake up. I wake up around 9 and realize he is not home. Call. He says he's helping his mate set up some lights and that the weather is too rainy for the animal sanctuary anyway. He gets home at 1-ish, lies around, plays some video games, promising we would cook dinner together tonight. Leaves again at 5 to help the same mate with something else. I go grocery shopping. I don't drive because of medical issues, but I walk there and back in the rain. I get home, realize I've left my keys inside. Call husband, knowing he's 5 minutes away. He says he will leave in a minute. I sit in the rain and the cold. Southern Hemisphere. 45 minutes later, I call again. He hasn't left yet. He finally agrees to come and let me in the house, so he drives up, presses the clicker to let me in the garage and leaves again. At 10, I call to see where he is. His friend answers, says he is driving out to do something an hour away. It's 10:30. I am going to bed. I have sent him a TXT that I am upset and don't want to speak to him tonight, and would rather he left me alone. As far as I am concerned, if he can't value me more than his best mate on the first day off he and I have shared in a year and a half, he can go sleep in his bed instead. BTW, his friend doesn't work, so they hang out all the time when I am at work. He is going to be upset, and he is gonna tell his mate, and his mate is going to tell him, I'm being a bitch. AITA. Adding some info, I am 26. We weren't always like this. I don't know what changed. I'm fairly confident he's not having an affair, and I fully intend on talking this through, but at a time that isn't 4 a.m. Also, the crying, sick babies sometimes make me sad, and I love all my patients. That's why I cry, and I don't mean hours of sobbing. I mean stepping into a supply closet to take a moment before getting back to work. Also, thank you for your kindness. I was expecting maybe 5 replies. I am trying to respond as much as I can, but there are a lot of you.
AITA for not listening to K-pop. I, 16F, was talking to a group of people in a group chat, and someone posted a video meme of Millie Bobby Brown where she asked what BTS was. This girl got super mad and started saying how Millie Bobby Brown was uneducated and ignorant for not knowing what BTS was. The video was pretty old too and not recent, so it's not like she said that recently, but the girl was absolutely pissed. I said that it's not a big deal that she didn't know what BTS was, and I didn't know them a few years ago either, and I still don't listen to them. This led to the girl absolutely going ballistic and said I don't respect Korean culture and I shouldn't be so racist against them. I genuinely never listened to K-pop cause it's not the kind of music I like, and I do still occasionally listen to some songs from K-pop bands. So, AITA for not listening to K-pop?
AITA for walking out of the baby shower my friends planned for me. I, 28F, am 7 months pregnant. My husband and I are ecstatic but anxious. I have pretty severe endometriosis and have already had 3 miscarriages. When we found out I was pregnant again, we didn't tell anyone, not even our parents, for the first 3.5 months. This is actually pretty standard for the Ashkenazi community, as it's traditional not to inform anyone but close family and friends until around 5 months. It's also traditional not to have a baby shower. One of my close friends, Eliza, 31F, isn't Jewish. This has never been an issue between us up until now. There were a few insensitive comments here and there, but she always apologized afterwards. Recently, though, she's been making more and more rude comments about my Judaism. especially since I told her I was going to be applying to rabbinical school after the baby was born. When I told all my friends, including Eliza, about my pregnancy, I made it very clear many times that I did not want a baby shower. I informed them that it wasn't my family's tradition, that in Ashkenazi culture it's considered bad luck, and that given my history, as well as my husband's, his mom died due to complications during her pregnancy with my SIL. I really needed this sense of security. So, when Eliza invited us over for Sunday brunch, I didn't think anything of it. When we got there, her house was decked out in pink and blue and there were all these signs saying, "Ops baby shower" hanging in her living room. About half of our friends were there and they all started cheering, congratulating us, and pointing at all these presents they bought us. I immediately started crying, which I know was kind of dramatic. I just felt really disrespected and overwhelmed, and obviously my hormones are a little out of whack. I turned around and walked straight out of the house and sat crying in my husband's car, while he chewed out our friends for not respecting my wishes, and Eliza for inviting us over under false pretenses. He came at about 5 minutes after me and drove us home, also crying. Eliza and the other friends at the baby shower have been texting me non-stop ever since, calling me ungrateful and overdramatic. Eliza in particular sent me walls of texts telling me that just because I'm Jewish doesn't mean I get to spit in the face of all she put together for me or decide how she wants to celebrate. But my husband is saying that I have every right to feel upset and that all of our friends, including Eliza, knew this wasn't something I wanted. I know that in American culture baby showers are a fun way to help out new moms, but I'm already so stressed out about this pregnancy that relying on my family's traditions around pregnancy has been really comforting. My husband has also appreciated keeping to these traditions. I feel like Eliza should have respected our wishes and the motivations behind them, but I also know that a lot of work and love went into planning that shower, and I hate that I made my friends feel unappreciated and like I don't value them because we don't share a religion. So, AITA.
AITA for the way I respond to my new coworkers' personal questions. I, 28F, am a foster kid. Long story short, dad drug dealer, mom drug addict. Mom died and dad went to jail for life. No family to take me on. Bounced into the system from the ages of 7 to 18. Then I became homeless, worked as an escort, went to college, and this is currently my second corporate job. Like you might imagine, I do not like to talk about my personal life, even more so because of my first corporate job, where I was the last to be given time off during holidays or summer, because I was a single woman without children. When I started at my current job, I made the decision that I was not going to get to know anyone. Colleagues will stay just that, colleagues. So I arrive at my desk at 8:45. I'm out the door at 5. I take my lunch break outside the office. Don't take my breaks with the other. Refuse all invites to things outside work. My new colleagues got the hint when I just said no thank you when they would invite me. When I opted out of the secret Santa even though it was obvious that I celebrated. And when instead of going to a colleague's wedding, I RSVP'd no, then sent a gift. They leave me alone. I leave them alone. But we are friendly and I'm happy to lend a hand when needed. Then this woman started with us almost 3 months ago. She is very outgoing and social, made friends with the whole office within the first week, and seems to take it as a personal challenge that I do not talk about my personal life. At first, I was direct but polite. I told her, "Hey colleague, I appreciate that you want to get to know me, but I am an extremely private person, and do not like to mix my professional and personal life together." After taking her aside away from others, well, instead of backing off, she doubled her efforts, and it's not in a creepy way, or a way that would allow me to go to HR, but I do not like it. Finally fed up with her, instead of trying to redirect the conversation, or changing the subject, I just stare at her dead in the eye without saying anything. Yesterday she came by my desk, and asked if I had plans this weekend. I said yes I do, but didn't elaborate. Then she asked me what my plans were, and if I had someone special that I was going to spend my time with. So I just started her dead in the eye and said nothing for minutes. At first she was annoyed, then she started rambling, then she turned red and left in a hurry. Another colleague sitting close by gave me this disappointed look and told me that they understood I was a private person, but that was no way to treat someone who was genuinely friendly, someone who was trying to include me in the social life of the office. So AITA?
AITA for snapping at my husband. My husband, Jim, and I have an almost 3-month-old baby boy, Dev. Jim is a perfectionist, and lately he's been frustrated because he feels I'm slacking on staying on top of things around the house and tells me there's no excuse for the house to not stay immaculate at all times. Dev is the best baby, but he does not sleep at night. My third trimester was rough, and it's been nearly 6 months since I've slept through the night. Dev is breastfed, so I do all the overnights with him while Jim sleeps. He typically gets 8 to 10 hours of sleep per night. I also take care of Dev during the day. Jim takes Dev for an hour or so when he gets home, and I use that time to try and rush to catch up on chores so Jim and I don't argue. Jim is quick to point out when I don't do something. For X, in the kitchen I'll wash dishes, clean the stove, wipe counters and table, organize pantry, sweep the floor, but I won't have the energy to mop. Instead of acknowledging all I do around the house, Jim constantly points out what I don't do. I see you can't be bothered to mop the floor. Must be nice to do nothing all day. I wish I could stay home and be lazy. You have no excuse for this. And it goes like that across all the household chores. I try to explain to Jim I'm constantly exhausted, I'm dealing with chronic pain issues, Ehlers-Danlos, osteoarthritis, POTS, mucus, gastroparesis, and neuropathy. Plus I've struggled on and off for years with anxiety, depression, and PTSD. I have a therapist. Jim points out that when he's at home he does his share of the chores with no problem, and he works full-time. So me being home all day means I should be able to do everything just by myself and take the stress off him. When Jim gets mad, he gets very snarky too. He'll ask me if I'm capable of taking care of Dev, since I'm obviously inept at taking care of the house. Says he hopes I don't neglect Dev like I neglect my other responsibilities, that he will take Dev and leave if I don't get my act together and start doing better, and it goes on. I finally got fed up and snapped at Jim to shut up and leave me alone. That he gets actual sleep every night and has far more energy than I do. I'm doing my best and I'm sorry it's not good enough, but please leave me alone about it. Jim got upset and accused me of attacking him when he's just trying to help and make sure I don't forget what needs to be done. And he doesn't know if he wants to stay in a relationship with someone who attacks him that way and clearly doesn't care about anything in life. AITA. AITA for telling my husband his disco party in our house is a no-go. My husband told me that he wants to run a disco theme party from 10 a.m. Friday morning until 4 p.m. Saturday afternoon in our house, and people have to pay for invites to come. He said he'd be getting a good spot if I Alexa YouTube playlist and bulk buying food, be it Pringles, Lay's, Wise Chips, M&M's, Skittles, cakes, nachos, burritos, etc., and it'd be a great idea. He said all the money raised would be split 50-50 between a local Down syndrome charity and an autism charity in the area. I told him there and then this was not acceptable in our house, and that if he wanted to do it, why not hire a venue like a warehouse or Airbnb apartment? But he insisted it's a house party and said Dad did this in their house when my husband was about 11 years old, and that Dad had locals attending, and the money was donated to a cancer charity back then, and he felt he had to copy this. Dad raised $5,000 back then in 1995. I feel very hinky about the idea, but he's insistent we try it. I'm a mom to a 13-year-old autistic daughter who'd feel frightened AF if she saw this, as she's not used to big parties. I've told him no, again and again, but AITA here for telling him no house parties?
AITA for asking my dad for money for period products. My 16F mom is an addict, so my brothers, both 14, don't see her much and haven't in almost a year now. My dad is a good dad, but when it comes to girl stuff, he is utterly useless. He's also not working right now due to the hours not being there for him, so he's really struggling. My school does provide period products, but they won't provide tampons to girls under 18 for some unknown reason, and when you ask for more than one pad, the receptionist gets really shitty with you for no good reason. I asked my dad for money this morning because we're completely out at home and the receptionist wouldn't give me a spare yesterday. He asked what I needed money for and I told him it was for tampons. He said he hasn't got it, and I said he also hasn't got the money to be doing extra laundry, because this is the sort of stuff I could just live without. He told me to ask my mom, so I texted her and she still hasn't responded. I asked him again, and he lost his shit. I got angry back. I told him if one of the boys needed new socks that wouldn't be an issue, or if we had no milk it'd be an issue. So why is it not okay for me to get what I need when they can get what they need? He told me to fuck off out of his face, and the boys have been a bit arsy with me all day as well. I'm not sure if I'm being the asshole here. I know I need tampons, but I also know that they're not cheap, and I pressured him a bit. AITA?
AITA for quiet quitting at work. I, F30, am a registered nurse associate, RNA, on a busy ward with acutely unwell patients that are admitted straight from A&E. When I first qualified about 6 months ago, I would do my job, and I do it well. I have always been a team player, and if I do say so myself, a bit of a pushover, doing things that were asked of me that weren't necessarily my responsibility. Every shift when I'd finished my own tasks, Elle would often help in other teams that were busier than mine. I know how stressful and overwhelming it can be when you've got seriously poorly patients. About 2 months ago, I was working a day shift with another RNA and a ward sister. My team was so busy that I barely made it through the day without a breakdown. I had 3 admissions within the space of an hour. 1 patient who'd had a stroke and was unresponsive, 1 having seizures who aspirated on vomit, and a breathless patient that was struggling to breathe. While I was running around struggling, the other RNA sat at her meds trolley on the computer the whole day. I'm not even exaggerating. She was sat there all day. She had no patient movement at all in her team and no poorly patients. She didn't once offer me any help. On another occasion, I had a patient admitted riddled with pressure ulcers to the point where I didn't know what I was looking at and how to document them. I went to ask the 2 senior RNs sat at the nurses' station for their help, and they both fully ignored me. When I asked again, they said they were busy. These are 2 of the nurses that normally take charge of the ward, who often go without breaks. I normally take it upon myself to do their admission paperwork for new patients so they can go get a break anyway. To cut a long story short, I feel like I'm always helping others but not getting the same in return. These are just 2 of the many things that have made me want to quiet quit, or at some points just plain quit. Last night I had a nice quiet team, while the same 2 RNs I was on with previously had around 4 admissions each and both didn't get a full break. I didn't offer them any help at all, and I feel so guilty about it. It's not in my nature to not help. AITA for deciding to no helping anyone with anything anymore. AITA for telling my boyfriend I won't move in with him unless he rehomes his dog. I, 23F, have been with my boyfriend Mark, 24M, for nearly 2 years, and we're thinking in moving in together and currently in the process of discussing what that would look like for us. Now, I'm a fairly messy person and I don't need to have our place look like a model home, but Mark's dog, Rex, 2.5, is making me consider ending the relationship entirely unless something changes. It seems that every other time I go to Mark's place, Rex always either pees, poops, or pukes somewhere in the house. Mark also allows Rex to crawl around under the sheets, which I think is nasty considering poop often gets stuck in his fur. Last night Rex ended up pooping on the bed, then immediately crawling under the sheets, and leaving a huge shit streak all over everything while we were in it, and I lost it. I told Mark that it's nasty he continues to let this happen and he needs to be more on top of letting his dog out. He said it only happens because he gets excited and that he lets him out enough. I suggested using bells by the door and teaching Rex to tap them when he needs to go out, but he insists those are unnecessary. By that point I had enough and gave Mark an ultimatum. I would not consider moving in with him until Rex is completely house trained or he finds a new home for him. Mark said I was being unreasonable and mean by making him choose between me and his dog. Was I out of line for this? Neither my mom or I think so. Info: the dog is 2.5 years and we've been long distance until about 3 months ago, so I didn't know about this until recently. Mark claims he takes Rex out enough, but I can't know how often as we don't live together. Rex is not a bad dog otherwise. This is his only issue.
AITA for my response to my sister's boyfriend's brutal honesty. My F35 sister F27 started dating one of those brutally honest guys few months ago. He can be quite rude and make backhanded comments about me and the family, sometimes which is bothersome, but my sister says he's not malicious, but is just the brutally honest type, and we should get used to it. I visited my parents' house to celebrate my sister's birthday, and my husband couldn't come with me because he was busy. After the party, we all sat down for dinner, and my sister's boyfriend said it was weird that my husband and I don't have kids despite being married for 6 years now. I was shocked that he brought this up, but I gave a short answer stating that it's because of infertility issues. He asked on which side and I didn't want to answer, but my sister said it's on my side. I got uncomfortable as he looked at me for a second and said that maybe not having kids now is a good thing because he thought women over 30 might produce defective babies due to age. I told him it was none of his business, but he said that he was just giving his honest opinion and that's all. I, in return, told him while maintaining eye contact, "Trust me, if I wanted an asshole's opinion, I would have farted." Literally everyone at the table bursted into laughter and my sister and her boyfriend were stunned. Few seconds later, your boyfriend excused himself out and my sister followed, then sent me a text after they left saying I was mean and disrespectful towards her boyfriend and insulted him maliciously just cause he stated his honest opinion. She also said I ruined her birthday by being petty and making her boyfriend the joke of the night in front of the family. I didn't respond, but she demanded an apology via mail as soon as possible. Mom agreed that I shouldn't have said what I said and should have just ignored him knowing how he is. I think I'd have, but I'm not sure.